Everyone, welcome to SacAnime 2017, the Legend of Zelda reunion panel. It has been so many years, I guess, since we've got these people together on one table. So I'm not gonna faff about. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce some people. First up, we have Patricia Summersett. Hello, hello. Coming up next, just go ahead and take a seat, yeah. Elizabeth Maxwell. And last but by no means least, Bill Rogers. Yeah.
Is this me?
Oh, you're over there.
Oh, I'm over there.
You know what we can do is we can move the name. It's all good.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it down to you now.
I am me. Here I am.
So I'm gonna sit over here and use this mic. I'm gonna be far away from all of you to create a kind of an artificial distance, just to make everyone feel a little uncomfortable.
Great.
Because I feel like
This one's mine.
yes, I feel like that's the best way to foster a really awkward and uncomfortable panel is to just if I have as much of a gap between you guys and me as possible. That way, it doesn't humanize you, and I can ask you weird questions. I'm not going to.
I love awkward and uncomfortable panels.
Isn't it great?
Should we all just take a moment to have an awkward pause?
Let's start with a hard-hitting question. There we go. Yeah.
Hey.
I love SacAnime. This is great. A little bit lower, a little bit lower. There we go. Yes. This is actually great. I have fibromyalgia, so I'm appreciating that. Thank you. I'm gonna start with a hard-hitting question. Soup, yes or no? How do you feel?
Soup?
Soup. I'm not offering, I'm just asking opinions.
Oh, well then, who cares? I love soup.
Soup is good. I'm gonna move in one, because I'm gonna make it slightly less weird.
I can't get down with gazpacho though. I can't do cold soup.
It's cold, it's
It's
weird.
it's like eating salsa plain.
Why would
It's
you
just
do
like
that?
shoveling salsa into my mouth.
I
Not
can't
to
wrap my
mention
head
soup
around
in general
cold
is not
soup.
good if it's not hot. So it's like, hey, you want a bowl of soup? It's like, no, man, that's been sitting out for hours. It's cold.
Do you or have anyone that you have met ever sent back gazpacho soup because it's cold?
Can you bring this back and heat it up?
Yeah, I'm not. This is cold. Someone in the kitchen messed up, and I demand that this be taken care of. So you guys are all officially awesome, I have to say. I'm a huge Legend of Zelda fan, as you can probably tell from my T-shirt. I mean, you guys have brought voices to characters that some characters people have only, we hear grunts maybe in previous games, and finally, thanks to you guys, we finally have voices for key characters in the Donkey Kong extended universe.
Yeah.
By which I mean the Legend. It's all linked to Donkey Kong.
And I mean, at the end of the day, who's to say that I'm not the guy that goes,
Yeah. So I guess
You'll never know.
So, like, I guess the first question is, and this is kind of maybe an obvious one, but maybe a bit of a biggie, but, like, how do you guys feel about, how does it feel being, like, the voices for such iconic characters in a video game franchise that is beloved by so many people?
Awesome! No, I'm just kidding.
Well, can I tell you a little bit of a story?
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys, I don't know how familiar you are with, the process of casting a video game, but particularly when something is high profile, it's all very secret, very hush-hush. And they use code names for the title, they use code names for the character names, and even a lot of times the lines of dialogue that you audition with are not even like real dialogue. They like write it and make it up, entirely for the auditions, so that you have no idea what they're talking about. So I had no clue what I was auditioning for. I had no clue what I booked. Like, I booked the game and still didn't know what I was going to record. And I get to the studio, and you're not given scripts ahead of time because, again, they don't want anything to leak. I get into the studio, I go to the mic, I take a look at my script, and I'm just kind of reading through it. Hyrule. And I had a little bit of a meltdown.
Did you
Like, I actually
literally
had
know?
to ask for a minute before I could start recording.
Were you, I take it you were already at least a fan or familiar with Zelda beforehand, I'm guessing?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I grew up on it,
Awesome.
you know? So, yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Likewise, the same thing was pretty much, I mean, I was aware that we were auditioning for Nintendo, and from the sides that I was reading, because I read for a couple different characters, I was like, okay, this is some sort of RPG, and then I was thinking, well, is it a Fire Emblem game, or, you know, trying to figure out what it is. I'm like, yeah, well, I know they're like making like 5 billion Fire Emblem games right now, so maybe it's something like that. So I auditioned, and I got a call back, and never in any time did I know. And then when I walked in, Jamie Mortellaro, who's our magnificent director, was like, hey, buddy, it's good to have you back in the studio. I got a good word for you, you know. You're going to go in that booth, and you're going to be the king of Hyrule. And I was just like... oh. Okay, because I figured, like, even when I got cast, they were like, you're going to be the old man. And, like, they didn't even say it was the king. It's like, you're going to be old man in this game. And I'm like, okay, cool, all right. He helps the hero along on his quest. And, yeah, so I had no idea. So I was like, and he saw me just visually shaking, and the Nintendo reps are there, too. He's like, I'm going to let you have a minute. And then, you know, we'll get it and we'll do that. I'm like...
I feel like they should have like a waiting room where they like, it's a little private waiting room. They tell you all the info. You can have your breakdown, your meltdown, and then you go in front of all the executives when you've collected yourself.
Yeah, you can start off in the green room where you can have snacks and get ready. Then they tell you what you're doing, and then you can move to the screen room. And then after that, then you can go into the booth.
Some good
in the
wordplay,
water
Ben.
room where you
I like it.
yeah, exactly.
Patricia, how familiar with Zelda were you with before you booked the gig?
You mean how familiar I was with the game before was with Zelda?
I guess the
again?
question I'm asking is, Zelda existed before you booked this gig. And
Supposedly.
How
No.
much of it did you know existed, and how familiar were you with it before you booked? Hi, how you doing?
It's early. Not really.
So good.
Was it on your radar before you booked this?
Definitely, yes, it definitely was. I grew up with an NES in the house, and when I found it, I had a very similar thing too, because I did not know what it was. I couldn't have surmised that it would have been Zelda, and so to hear that, like I almost peed my pants. I was like, it just like completely shifted the whole reality of like what's in front of you. You're just like, you're this, and then suddenly somebody goes, you're gonna do this, and you're gonna play Princess Zelda, and you're like an awkward puppy, kind of like trying to like make sense of. It was so amazing, yeah. But yeah, I played the original growing up. I played a lot of Mario.
Nice.
I actually just tried Mario Rabbids on the way over here on the
Really
plane.
excited.
It's so
I haven't picked it up
adorable.
yet, but it looks really good.
It's really cute.
Can I get a really quick poll? Might be a stupid poll because this is a Zelda panel. But how many people grew up with Nintendo?
Boom.
And how many
Wow.
people grew up with Sega Genesis?
Well,
Get out.
Okay, I was just curious.
but my question is, why not both?
I know. Well, I started out with Sega Genesis and then became RPG jealous, and that's why I bought my Super Nintendo.
Yeah, Super Nintendo had all the good stuff. They had the Final Fantasies and your Chrono Trigger and Zelda.
Chrono Trigger.
And the Genesis had Phantasy Star.
Hey, Phantasy Star
Hey.
was a great series, so...
It was, actually. I really liked Phantasy Star, too. And so, I mean, come on, Sonic was actually pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Sonic was great.
Well, but like, for me, I mean, I'm not as old as the king, but I'm obviously older than you guys. So my first system was an 8-bit NES. And then I got a Sega Genesis, so I didn't have a Super Nintendo. I had a buddy who had one, so he'd come over to my house and we'd play Genesis, and I'd go over to his house and play Super Nintendo. So I played the first two, like those beautiful gold 8-bit cartridge, Legend of
Nice.
Zelda, Adventures of Link. Those were my foray into like RPGs. And then I was in the Phantasy Star series because while my friend had, you know, the other Zelda games, you can't really be like, hey man, just, all right, yeah, I'll be here. Go get me a drink. I'll be back. So this will take me a few days. But, so yeah, I mean, I didn't play some of the other Zelda games, but yeah, I'm all the way back to like the beginning of the series. So that was, and actually, so this is, I have a little story about this shirt. I got this shirt because it's really, really cool, but it's representative of all different Links throughout the gaming franchise.
So cool.
And while I was working on the game and couldn't say anything to any of my friends about it, one of my friends was like, so what's your favorite Zelda game? And I said, well, the second one was really great, because I wasn't really a big fan of the original, like the overhead, top down, like you can fire your sword until you get hit once, and then you have to run up and go and try to bash into people.
Yeah.
It's like, God, I gotta find another heart, because otherwise I'm dead on the next stage. At least with The Adventures of Link, it was a little more, you know, a little easier to get along, and it was more like your standard action RPGs are now. And she just looks at me and goes, oh, really? So it wasn't like Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask? I'm like, no, unfortunately, I never got the chance to play those. She's like, you call yourself a Zelda fan. And my buddy was like, you know, Rochelle, be nice to Bill, because he just told you that he played the first 2 games in the series when you were a fetus. So I like to think that, yes, I have it on a lot of my fans that, like, I have played it before you. I haven't played all of the games, but at least I was there at the beginning.
You were there at the beginning. And it's nice to hear
OG.
another Zelda 2 fan, because that's kind of like the dark horse of the Zelda franchise, because it's so different from all of the others. Do you guys have a favorite Zelda that you guys like or don't like? What's your favorite one that you don't like? That's the question.
I've never played Majora's Mask. I feel like I would be so frustrated and intimidated by that game.
Yeah, it's daunting.
Yeah. I like the art of it. But
Yeah.
At the risk of being basic, for me, I think too, a lot of like my love of certain games came from the period of time in my life in which I played them. And so for me, it was Ocarina of Time. Sorry, basic.
No,
It's a
and
good
I
choice.
will say this, I have been playing it on the 3DS, because I finally got, and it's a great game. It probably is the best game of the series, which is why I've been playing it.
Oh, what'd you just say?
Oh, that's right, there's no best game in this series, because whatever answer you have is wrong. Why?
The best game in the series is Breath of the Wild, obviously.
Oh, well, yes, there's that too.
Of course it is. Well, we are going to open the questions up to our wonderful, wonderful audience. Just so you guys know, Zelda questions are great. Feel free to ask non-Zelda questions as well. Like, if you have a question and it's in your head, as long as it's not like weird. Like weird. And if you're in line and and there's a question in your head and you think, is this too weird? It's probably too weird. So, by all means, hi, what's your name?
Yeah, my name is Jay, and I was curious, what was the biggest challenge in voicing each of these characters for each of you?
What was the basic challenge of our...
Yeah, what was the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge
yeah.
of voicing all of the characters?
I find that the biggest challenge, for this one, I feel like actually the sort of waiting quietly for this one, because there was so much energy behind the game itself, was maybe for me one of the bigger challenges, just sitting down and sort of focusing on the work and what's in front of you and when it came up. Because you're not always given a lot of information during the year of recording. So for me, it was just like sitting quietly for a whole year while doing it. That was my biggest challenge on this one.
For me, let's see. I will say, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but we actually dubbed the game, because it originally existed in the Japanese language. So dubbing is always more difficult than doing prelay, which is where you get to do the original VO and then animated, they animate to that. This is just a theory, but I do a lot of anime dubbing, which is I think weighed heavily in my favor for getting cast in this game. But that's always makes things a little more difficult. And then with Urbosa specifically, they wanted a very rich, deep, warrior-esque voice, but they very, very much did not want it to veer into the sexy territory. And so finding that balance, because when you do a lower, deep-voiced female, it's easy to just kind of inch towards that, you know, the sexy sound pretty easily. So keeping myself in line and not going into vamp and staying in warrior territory was a very fine line to walk. So
for me, it was the gravity of it. I mean, this is the first time that they've really used voices outside of so there was a lot of weight to it. But yeah, it was cool working with the dubbing part of it, because when we watched it, one of the things I enjoyed about it was that, like, a lot of the stuff was still like wireframe stuff when we were working on it. There was a lot of early stuff before they had put in a lot of effects and whatnot. So we got to watch the process go along. So it was amazing to be a part of it, going in and being like, this is going to be a fully realized game in about a year. And that's really friggin' awesome. And I'm part of it. And oh my God, I'm part of it. So it's just that weight of that. It's like, I really hope the fans like this. I really hope the fans like what we do. So.
Were any of you intimidated once you found out what you were doing? Was that like you said, as you described, the weight of it? Did that get to you at any point?
Okay. So here's my dark little secret for those in the audience who don't know this. I am the voice of Brock in Pokemon, but I am the second voice of Brock in Pokemon. Oh, are you still happy though? Is that okay? All right, good. So the thing is that we took over Pokemon, now celebrating its 20th anniversary.
kind of nuts.
Yay! I took over in season 9 as the voice of Brock, and so I had already been a voice actor at the time, and I started going to conventions, and people were like, yeah, you're Brock, yeah, whatever. So I had a lot of people like, really kind of like, well, yeah, you know, you're the voice of Brock, but you're not the original voice of Brock. And I'm like, yeah, you know, like Mickey Mouse has had 4 different voice actors, and Bugs Bunny has gone through a number of actors, and all these iconic characters, even Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon have gone through multiple casts, like big anime franchises. And I'm like, so, you know, I'm doing what I'm doing. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but I care about the character and I understand it's a big franchise. So I've been attached to a big franchise before. And then also I'm attached to Street Fighter V. I'm the voice of Urien. And technically there was Street Fighter 3, which was an arcade cabinet from like the 90s where there was like just mostly attacks and no dialogue. And there was another person who had done that like forever ago. And so people are really happy about Urien, but every once in a while I still get fans that are like, yeah, you know, but Lawrence Bain did it better. Like, okay, in those handful of attacks that he did a great job, and we were aware of that when we dubbed the game, but all right. So I'm thinking, like, with this, I'm now the voice in a major franchise that I can say is my own, but I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for somebody to come up to me in the autograph line and be like, I'm not trying to cause any problems here, but Philip CDI King was the best. Be like, man, just leave me alone!
That was a long walk for a great joke. I love it.
But we won't talk about that. No.
I mean, yeah, the short answer is yes. I mean, I think the most intimidation I felt was right at the beginning, but it's kind of one of those, like, I knew somewhere in the back of my head that I couldn't allow myself to, like, wallow in that area for too long. It was like I was already at the studio and I had a job to do. So, you know, it's kind of when the professional part kicks in and you're like, okay, just another job. This is just another job.
Yeah, similarly, I definitely felt intimidation at the beginning, but I think because of the passion behind the project and also the fact that I felt so supported in the room, I'm sure you guys did too. We had such a friendly room for all the recording, and it was very focused and very specific what they wanted. And so that really does help when you're attempting to sort of make these, what could be, they feel like grand decisions about something. A lot of that is done with you, and it's done very sort of finitely. So that's pretty useful. I did think about this during the recording process a lot, and after. I'm really happy to have done like 10 years of this before landing this, because I feel like if I'd been really new, this might have just been like a really up and down experience or something, just like how big it feels, the adrenaline rushes and stuff. you get the adrenaline rushes, but you also have a body of work and a craft where you can sort of rely on just in your own process of going through something like this, where it really does, you know you have to focus on the work, and you know you have to focus on what's in front of you in the moment, on the script, on the page, how to make this relevant. And the other stuff is history, but you can't play history. You have to play what's in front of you and make real people. So, yeah.
Cool, I dig it. All right, let's move on to the next question. Hey there, what's your name?
Hello, my name is Kyle.
Hey there.
Hey, Kyle.
My question is for all of you. So, have any of you seen Roger's bass SacAnime song parody?
Sorry?
Roger's bass Gaston's song parody?
Yes. Yes, and I met Roger recently at E3, and we were like, you, and he's the best. So has anybody seen that for Sidon, the Gaston parody? No one like Sidon.
I've heard of this. I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
It is very good. It's very funny. Yeah.
Have you, Bill?
The Sidon thing? I actually have been hearing a lot of rumblings about it, but I have not seen the video yet.
I'll show you.
Well, I know what we're doing tonight.
Oh,
We're gonna go take a break. And
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
Thank you. Okay, next question. Come on over. Traitor.
Hello.
Traitor.
nobody makes up for it with the shirt.
America.
Hi.
That is a great shirt, in fairness.
It's okay,
I
you
brought that to celebrate your welcoming. Well,
Awesome.
so my question is, the moment that Link managed to save what's left of it, will you visit other kinds of worlds of Hyrule? Which one will that be?
Sorry, can you ask that question again? When Link, I couldn't hear very well with the
After
microphone.
saving what's left of Hyrule, is there any other different worlds of Hyrule you like to visit, like Ocarina of Time?
Are there iterations of Hyrule from other games that they'd like to visit?
I mean, which version would you like to meet? If you
Oh.
meet Link,
Oh.
different version of Link or Zelda?
There's a
That
question.
is I've never really thought of that exactly like that before. What version of Zelda and Link would I like to meet if they were sort of reincarnated and the world was restored? You could sort of transport yourself anywhere? Is that the question?
I guess to like the different, but from all the different Zelda games, which, I mean, I know my answer because I would go for the Wind Waker, Link and Zelda because, like, Zelda's a badass.
They're so
in that
beautiful
game.
and the art style is so
it's
neat, and they're just like,
gorgeous, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a hard. I don't like. Some of these questions I wish I could think on for a day and then like write a little journal on and be like, what do I really think about that? I just want to go to the Lon Ranch and hang out. That's really the truth.
You know what the answer is. You want to meet the Zelda. You want to meet the Link from the old 80s cartoon. Well, excuse me, princess.
Everything about that.
All of them at once.
Oh man, that's like a Doctor Who special. All the Links in a row, and then all the Zeldas. Oh no, then all the Ganons.
I like this. Put all your links in a row. This is like a good. I should use this.
That's
We
the new.
should
It's
use
like,
this.
you get any ducks in a row? No, I've got my links in a row. That's how you know I've got my stuff together. Yeah.
You're only as strong as your weakest link.
Wah, wah.
Then obviously the weakest link is the
Thank you.
Philips CDI link. That goes without saying.
We are so screwed. No, I'm just kidding. We don't talk about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a?
Was there a question?
Yeah. Is there a version of Link or Zelda from any of the games that you would be particularly interested in meeting, other than, of course, the Philips CDI one, who's the best?
Of course, because he is best Link.
He can't wait to blow up some Dodongos. He cannot wait.
I don't know. I mean, like I said before, I've been enjoying Ocarina of Time because you can play Link as a kid and Link as a grown-up, so that's
Yeah.
kind of fun. I don't know. He's a hero. He's a hero for all ages. I think he's good in every game.
I dig it. That's
Thank you,
a
Tim.
nice politically safe answer.
Yes.
Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to the next question. Hi, how you doing down there? What's your name?
I'm Eric, and I have a bit more of a general question for all of them.
Sure.
What's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to them in their career?
The what?
Most embarrassing.
The most
thing
embarrassing thing that's happened to you in your career?
So let's dig up the dirty laundry here.
I'm gonna have to get some set answers for these because I think back, I'm like, there's so many.
Are you taking a
awkward
psych
moments.
course? Are you like trying to analyze the people on the panels? The answer is yes.
Embarrassing. I don't. Have you had any embarrassing? I'm trying to think.
The only thing I can like is there like a line of dialogue where you've read it and you've gone, I'm not entirely sure that I can say this with my actual human mouth.
Oh, I've got one. Okay. So I don't know how many of you have PlayStation Vitas, but a couple years ago I worked on a game that only came out for the Vita called Trillion God of Destruction. Anybody familiar with that game? So the basic premise is that you play as a lord of hell, and then you have all of these like archdemons of hell under your command that you can play with, and they represent the 7 deadly sins. And with my voice, guess which sin I voiced?
Oh, gluttony.
Lust,
Oh,
Ashmedia.
lust. Okay.
And okay, we've got kids in here, so I'm not going to get too intense, but she gets really excited by violence. And all of the lines were just like me getting really excited while I was fighting. And this was in like a room of completely male engineers, directors, game people. And they were all just sitting there staring at me with a straight face while I was doing this stuff. And I was like, I almost wish you'd be laughing or smiling or something. This is so awkward.
And it's so weird because like half of those people weren't even supposed to be in the office that day. It's so strange.
Hey guys, come in. You got to check this out. We're going to make Elizabeth really uncomfortable. Everybody just stare.
And I think there was one point where I had to like reach the high point. And so I did it, and then they were like, you know, that was really great, but it was a little too long. We're gonna need to do that again. If you can like cut it off at 6 seconds. And I was like, okay.
Great.
That's mine.
I'm trying to think of. I wouldn't necessarily say embarrassing, but there's a moment that really struck me once that I think back to sometimes when I think of like the strangest moments where you could be embarrassed, but you're doing your job, and you're like, what is my life? Like, this is the strangest thing. There was once where we were filming, we were doing the making of Smurf 2, and I was the on-set voice of Smurfette and Clumsy in this. And so we were down in Old Montreal, and like they'd watered the streets. There's this huge production, do these really long hour days, and then you're in the middle of the night, and like everybody's so tired, and like Gargamel, Hank Azaria, is like sitting there, like pointing to your like Smurf, your $15,000 replica Smurf puppet that you're holding behind a huge camera, and just going like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And he's got this moment where he's like with the sword, and like there's like, like electricity shooting out of it. And then my character just goes like, I am a Smurf! And it's like, it just rung out into the dead of night street in front of like loads of people in the dark at like 3 a.m. And I'm like, I had to do it over and over again. And it's like, Smurf! And just like holding, and I was like, anyway, I just think back to that moment sometimes. It's like,
Was it supposed to be like Smurfette's "This Is Sparta" moment? Is that?
Yeah, pretty much. It was. It might have been Vexy. I don't know, but it was like one of the. It was like whatever the Smurf was. She was like fighting the powers, and it just was so weird to do over and over again at 3 a.m. on an empty street.
That's also a weird thing to be woken up by at 3 a.m, like the echo of someone yelling Smurf over and over again.
Yeah, I'm sure some people were woken up by that for sure.
Fantastic. Bill, do you have any embarrassing?
Okay, so
weird?
I'm gonna tread lightly because it's a project that's not out yet. But I worked on a game where I obviously played a male character. Hey, all right.
Not
but
obviously.
Well, you'd hope. But the thing is that the game is another one of these trillion type of games, and but the main character goes on missions with different characters, and it also has dating sim elements to it. And I'm a male, beefy character in it, but yet there are times where it's like, well, what do you want to do now? And I'm just like, wait, because there's all the battle dialogue and stuff, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm really gonna, then we get to this section where it's like, and this is the part where the character can then like go and visit any of the characters and take them out, and like you have a little dating sim part, and I'm like, I guess. Okay, maybe there'll be some bears out there that really like this game. I don't know. It's all right. You can like what you like. It's cool. But I was just like, all right, because I mean, I've been like different warriors in games where they have the female element of it, and I'm like, sorry, gals. There's you've got to have these ridiculous lines and things like that. I've never been on the other end of this. I know your pain.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
There we go. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Come on down. How you doing? What's your name?
Yo, my name is Magus, and you don't know how that's spelled, and it's not important because you're never going to hear that name ever again.
Cool.
So I got a question.
I appreciate the honesty.
What?
I appreciate the honesty.
So I got something to ask for Bill Rogers here. So I know you most for the voice of Brock from Pokemon.
Yes.
Like I watched Pokemon way after it went stale because I mean I wanted to watch anime as a kid. And yeah. But like, so I got a good question. Do you think you could do your own take on the jelly-filled donut line from the 4Kids Pokemon dub? And how many times have you been asked to do that before?
See, the great thing is that I go to conventions, and like I said, I'm the second voice of Brock, and people will ask about jelly donuts, but on top of that, people are always like, do the line, do the line, do the line, do the line, and I'm like, Nurse Joy, Officer Jenny, I can't decide. And they're like, no, not that line. They're like, come on, man, frying pan. And I'm like, but that wasn't my line. And they're like, come on, do it, son. Looks like it's time to use my frying pan as a drying pan. Yay! Oh my God, he did it! I'm like, well, all right, whatever.
There we go.
Wait for it. Jelly-filled donuts. There you go, all right?
Can I just give a shout out to all the beautiful cosplay right now in the audience? There's so much good stuff. We've got a lot of like,
There's some great cosplay. You guys are awesome.
yeah.
Hello. What's
I
your
love
name?
your star purse, by the way. That's pretty awesome.
That's cool.
It's very lovely.
Hello.
Hello, this is just a general question for all three, and since you've done video games, and a lot of video games produced in Japan, has there ever been lost in translation moment when you read either a piece of dialogue or some line reading that's like, how do I say this, or what do they mean?
Yeah.
All the time.
Thankfully, we have adapters that handle that, but I've worked on adaptations before where the translation comes in for like, say, a fighting game or something, and somebody's about to battle, and the line would roughly be translated to, I hit you, you fall down. It's like, all right, I'm gonna make that, I'm gonna knock you out, or you're get ready for a KO or something. Because yes, they're very, so hopefully by the time you get it to the stage of the actor being in the booth, I have to make a confession. I worked on the script adaptation team for Trillion. I'm sorry. But it could have been worse. It could have been so much worse. That translation was really raw. So I did the best I could. I apologize.
I do appreciate you. I can't think of any specific lost in translation moments, but sometimes you do, sometimes you're very lucky and you work with directors who have a lot of experience with actors and really know how to talk to actors. And then other times, you don't. And I've gotten some really conflicting like direction before where they're like, okay, that was great. If you can do that now again, more angry, but also gentler. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, so sometimes trying to tease out exactly what they mean when they don't really know how to like articulate it can be difficult.
Yeah, that can actually be a huge part of the challenge of this kind of work for sure. I was thinking recently when I was doing some motion capture for a project, I had one of like the director and the sort of visual effects motion capture person. They were both sort of doing co-directing, and it would constantly come down to this. And as an actor, you just have to make it fly. That's part of it. You have to try and like generate something that might please both of them at the same time. But it would literally be like, okay, so you're gonna walk here, you're gonna hit point 2, and you're gonna walk over there, pick up the empty thing. Obviously you like do it on the side of your face because you have a helmet on, and then you're gonna put it back down, and you're gonna do it quite quickly. So you're like, get here in about 5 seconds before you do your dialogue. And then the other person will come up and be like, okay, so this is great, but I just need you to slow it way down, like way, way down. And you're like, but how, okay. And then so you're like, but then splitting the difference isn't anything. And so somehow you just have to you end up like.
Don't you know time is relative, Patricia?
That's right. So I end up being like, yeah, really, really smooth and like moving really quickly at the same time. No, that's not what would happen. But yeah, that is definitely all the time that kind of thing happens. And so much of the time the process is being made as they go and the script is being worked on, so you get several drafts of things and translations slowly become what they're gonna become. So yeah, always a work in progress.
Thank you.
Just to kind of add to that, have you ever gotten into the booth and read a line and thought, I feel like this, instead of saying this word, if I said this word or tweaked, have you guys ever like tweaked a line and they've gone, yeah, let's go with that instead? Does that come up frequently?
In anime dubbing all the time, but sometimes in video games they are very specific about what they want, and you change an A to a D and you will get feedback about it.
Yeah.
So
that's fun. Fun, exciting.
In certain jobs, no.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while, like, I will just read a line and then, like, I may have transposed a word or something and be like, I did that. And the director will be like, all right, well, we'll just get another take. Other times they're like, no, it sounded better that way. So sometimes it does work, but yeah, there are times where they're like, no, you cannot change a letter. So, cool.
All right, next question. Hey there, what's your name?
My name is Nathan. I just had a
Nathan.
question for all three of you guys. Over your entire career in voice acting, what was your favorite line or moment that you ever had to perform?
That's a great question.
It's great. Yeah. It's a hard question too.
For you, it's the Smurf thing, right?
Well, that is definitely one of my highlight moments. The Smurf. I'm a Smurf. Because how many times do you get to say that with total conviction in your life? For real. Like,
I've only gotten
real.
to do it 2 or 3 times. So, yeah.
Oh, I have to think on that one. I always really like what I'm doing. So I find certain highlight moments come with each project. I have like certain highlight moments that sort of define the project for me. And everything I'm working on tends to be the most exciting thing that I'm working on because I tend to be pretty immediate.
I don't know if I could, I feel like I would need like an entire day to think on my like ultimate super #1 favorite thing, but one line that I get really tickled about whenever I think about, I don't know if you guys know, if you're familiar with Ruby, Rooster Teeth's Ruby. So I play Winter Schnee, Weiss's older sister in that show, and in the very first episode where I show up and I meet my sister coming off the ship, at some point in the scene, I yell out, "Silence, you boob!" And it was like the most random thing I could think of for her to say, and yet somehow fits so perfectly. It's like the perfect insult, not quite insult. I don't know. It was a strange word, and I still really love saying that line.
I'll go in the other direction, actually. I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite line, but one of the ones that I really liked was that being the voice of Urien in Street Fighter, he's a very Shakespearean type of villain. So there is a scene in one of the story modes where the boxer, Balrog, is waiting for his fight money, and Urien just goes, "You'll get your money, pugilist." And I'm like, I got to say pugilist. I'm in port, I'm smart.
What does pugilist mean again?
It's like the fancy word for boxer.
Oh.
I dig it.
So I was like, that's cool. Urien's using the SAT words. He's using the big money words.
That is not what I would think that word would mean.
No, it's pugilist, yes. He also refers to somebody as a troglodyte at some point.
That's such a wonderful word.
That's a great insult.
That's great, because you can call someone a troglodyte and then you can accuse them of burninating the countryside. Burninating.
That's a little different. That's
yeah.
Trogdor.
Yeah.
Trogdor! And the Trogdor comes in the night!
I feel like the word pugilist sounds like a really fancy person who steals pugs. Pugilist.
Come back here, pugilist. I've got your dog.
The pugilist strikes again.
As he runs off.
It's a serial pugilist. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
That is a great t-shirt.
That
That is a superb t-shirt.
Of course it is.
Stay there.
Hope.
So,
I feel like
one
we're on the
small
spot.
question for Bill. Pokemon Sun and Moon just released. Went too far. Pokemon Sun and Moon, the anime just dropped that Misty and Brock are going to be coming back for a little while. Any hints on Brock reprisal?
And I love the way the dude brought a camera with it. He's like, I'm going to ask this question, and regardless, I'm going to get the scoop because this is the first time anybody's gotten to talk to Bill at a convention since this information dropped.
He's got his laptop set up over there to upload this thing immediately to YouTube.
And there it is! Boom! YouTube exclusive. All right, YouTube exclusive. Here's my thing. You have to realize that after Diamond and Pearl, when Brock went off to become a Pokemon doctor, Dawn and Brock both had individual specials. And they did not get dubbed, and they did not come over to the US. And then after Black and White, there was an episode where Silent and Brock team up to stop a rogue Gyarados. And that episode did not make it over here. I will not be 100% sure satisfied and be able to scream from the rooftops that I am in an episode of Sun and Moon until that episode airs on Disney XD. So my answer is very non-committal, and I apologize, but all I can say is, let's all hope.
I'm crossing my fingers.
We've got 10 minutes left, so let's crack on. Hello.
My name is Deirdre.
Hi, Deirdre.
Oh, wow, my voice sounds weird. It sounds different when you hear it on a
beautiful.
microphone.
Sounds fun.
My question is actually for all of you that want to answer. I know that you all have experience with the Zelda series, so what is your favorite boss from any game and why? Any of the Zelda games.
Oh, man.
And it can be any reason.
I actually do. I know I'm not on the panel, but I'm gonna just answer very quickly. I like the genie in the bottle from Link's Awakening because I just thought it was just silly and I liked it. I just thought it was fun. Yeah, you got to toss him around. You got to break the bottle. The bottle's hopping around with the bottleneck just like waving like it was just. The whole game's ridiculous, but I love that boss fight for the absurdity of it. Yeah.
Dark Link. Dark Link.
Beware your dark side, man. You fight your shadow. That just, and as a child with very little, I mean, I had the speed that I don't have now. But yeah, trying to like, wait, everything I do, he matches. How do I do this?
And of course, that inspired one of my favorite moments from the Scott Pilgrim movie as well, where Scott's meets Dark Scott and they hang out and chat over coffee. It's cool.
Beware your dark side, man.
I just met some great Dark Link cosplayers really recently. I gave them a really big hug. Yeah. I'm just gonna go with Waterplate Ganon right now because that's the only one I can think of, and I'm really bad with favorite questions. I'm just like, probably that one's awesome.
I'm just really upset that in the new game, like Calamity Ganon doesn't have like a Yosemite Sam voice or something. I'm gonna get you, Link! I'm Calamity Ganon! Yeah! Just kind of like cruising around the castle, you know, you just keep seeing him loop around. I'm gonna get that Link! Yeah!
Oh, thank you, Bill. Thank you so much.
Well, of course, you know, this is all the way back in the dubbing process when we're in there, and it's like, so the next line is that...
Is that one of them that got cut?
Link,
is that...
you must stop the Calamity Ganon. And I'm like, Calamity Ganon?
Calamity Ganon is probably my favorite musical. I'm a big fan.
This is my first panel with Bill, and I had no idea he was so entertaining.
Sorry. I apologize in advance.
I'm kind of blanking right now, to be perfectly honest. I really liked Dark Link too. I thought that was like very poetic. I was very into like kind of like emo gothy type like music, and
so then you,
know,
you
like,
really wanted it to be like Link comes in like, I'm gonna fight Dark Link, and Dark Link's like, yeah, whatever.
Well, I was very, like, I was like writing a lot of like dark poetry during that time, and you know, like about like I look into the mirror and like, you know, see through to the like darkness in my soul and stuff. I don't know, it's really bad.
My heart canister is almost empty.
So there we go. Thank you. Bring it on over. That's a
This dude's got a sword.
Wow.
Yay! Master
Sword.
Hello.
It was this hard to get this thing. Yeah. My question I have is for all you guys. So what is your favorite or worst thing about Breath of the Wild, whether it's been your recording of the game or just playing the game in general?
Did you say worst, favorite, or least favorite?
Your favorite or worst thing about Breath of the Wild, whether it's your voice.
Can you say it without the microphone really quickly?
What's your worst or favorite?
Favorite worst moment? Oh, favorite or
Pick
worst
one.
moment. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna go with one of my favorite moments is recording stuff about frogs. I like that. That's all. Yeah. It's true. I like them.
I don't know if this exactly answers your question, but I've learned through playing this game that my boyfriend and I don't share video games well. Which is leading me to believe that, like, I kind of hoped, like, you know, he has a Switch, he has a really big TV, I don't own a TV, and I was like, okay, he has the Switch, it'll be fine, I'll just play his. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. So I'm learning that I need to get my own Switch. Yeah. Yeah, I know, right?
I don't have a Switch either, and my roommate does. Okay, so for those of you who know the voice acting world there, I'm roommates with Eric Kimmerer. And actually here is my favorite moment about being in the Zelda game. It has nothing to do with actually recording it. It has to do with the fact that I am really good at keeping NDA because my roommate did not know I was in the game until the day it came out.
Nice.
He had ordered a Switch, and you have to understand, if you guys know Eric, he's at Non-DesCon this weekend. Eric walks around the apartment in a Link robe. Like, that's his robe. There is a tapestry in our living room of like the Zelda characters, like in that really fancy like Boris Vallejo style, and I don't know what fan or illustrator did it, but it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. He's got every Zelda game, he's played every iteration. If he's played it and it comes out on a different console, he'll still buy it and play it through. So I've got to watch the game, I've got to watch him play it. So that was great, but yeah, the weird thing is that he ordered his Switch for day of release and ordered, I believe, through Best Buy. Shame, Best Buy, shame. Because they were like, yeah, we know it's supposed to be out Friday, but you'll get it on Monday. And so he had to wait, and he's got this, that also reminded me, he's got the case, he's got the sword, he's got all the amiibos. I know they're amiibos, but he's an amiibo. So the thing is,
you're amiibo.
So the thing is, he had the like giant box master, like all the crap special edition, and nothing to play it on. And I woke up that morning and watched, I saw Patricia and Elizabeth and everybody like, I'm in Zelda. And people like, oh my God, Zelda. And I'm like, I gotta tell him because he can't make it through the weekend. He's gonna find this out and he's gonna beat the shit out of me. And so, yeah, so of course I get up and I knock on his door and he opens his door. He's like, hey, and I'm like, sorry, were you just getting up? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I know that your Switch isn't coming in on Monday, but I have to tell you this. So I'm the king, and he's just like, are you, what is your problem? I'm like, no, the king of Hyrule, the voice of it's me. He's like, holy shit. I'm like, yeah, I figured you'd probably find out on the internet at one point, so I wanted to be the one to tell you. And he was just overjoyed. He's like, oh my God. He's like, I'm getting it. When I get the Switch, we'll sit down. So I sat and watched him play. And so I have not actually, much like your boyfriend, I have not been like, give me that! I'm not going to fight him for it because Zelda is his life. But that was amazing. Yeah, being able to just kind of watch it through somebody's eyes and have him go, oh, well, this is because of, and talking about the lore of it all. It was an amazing thing.
Thank you. We have like 3 minutes left, so we've got time for one more quick question. Oh.
Speed round!
No, yes, maybe.
Hello.
Hello.
My name's Michelle. I guess to end this, I've got a simple question. Not counting Zelda, what is your favorite kind of video game?
Favorite kind or favorite video game?
Favorite video game.
Ooh.
Favorite video game.
I'm a dedicated RPGer, and I grew up playing Super Nintendo. So I think if I had to pick one, Chrono Trigger is my favorite video game of all time. Oh, it's so good. Do you have an iPad? Do you have a tablet of any kind?
No.
Okay, if you get an iPad, you can download it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to play this with Elizabeth. That's
So
please,
good.
yeah.
It's good.
I just listen to the music. It makes me happy. Anyway. I also have techno, like redubs, like remixes of Chrono Trigger music. Anyway, sorry. I'll let somebody else answer the question.
You can go first. I'm just looking for
There's just so many, and by ways of RPGs, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. My first games were the Zelda games, but then on the old NES system, I got to play the first Final Fantasy and the first Dragon Quest, well, Dragon Warrior when it came out on the NES system. So I have not touched Stand By Me yet. I know that everybody loves 15 and it's probably a great rollicking adventure, but yeah, I played the first of a lot of those. In my day, I played the first of all of those RPGs. So yeah, that was, they were all great, yeah.
I'm trying to think of the name of this now because I just played it recently and it had such a big impact on me, and it was from a few years ago. It's an indie game, and because I spent a bit of time in the Arctic, I was like crying when I was playing this game. I thought it was such a beautiful game, and I just can't remember the name of it now. It won awards I want to say 6 years ago.
Does it take place in ice?
Yeah.
You say Arctic?
Yeah. We Are Not Alone. It's not. Nope. No.
Everybody just yell out random video game
Yes,
names.
please, guys. No, it's not that. Thank you for that. I'm gonna think about. I'm just gonna Google it really quick.
Katamari.
It's got a really simple name to it, but it's. No, it's a little phrase. Never alone. Thank you.
There you go.
Never alone.
That is
I was like, it's not We Are Not Alone. It's not that. It's Never Alone. That for me right now is my favorite game.
Well, there you go. All right, everyone, put your hands together, please. Give a round of applause to Patricia Summersett, Elizabeth Maxwell,
Thank you guys.
and Bill Rogers. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you guys for being here. You guys are awesome. There we go. We're done.
Thank you.
We have a signing somewhere.
Yeah, if you want your Zelda
the
swag
sign, right?
signed, 1:30.
1:30. Give us a half hour. We'll sign some stuff.
Cool.
All right, guys, you don't have to stay here. I mean, Sorry, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Out.